Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. As you know, Katie and I are both really passionate about mental health, and today we are going to be talking about suicide. Just our experiences with people that we love and have heard of committing suicide, and then also Katie's going to share a little bit of her struggle with suicidal thoughts. As you guys know, both of us have experienced and struggled with clinical depression and still do. I personally have never experienced with suicidal thoughts, but have had a lot of people that are close to me come to me and confide in me with suicidal thoughts, and I've had a couple people that I love so much commit suicide. And so even though it is such a dark and heavy topic, we just feel really called to talk about it and to bring it to light and to hopefully bring people hope that are experiencing those thoughts, and then also give people wisdom of how to handle it with family and friends that are experiencing those thoughts. So Katie's going to share a little bit of her experience with suicidal thoughts and just hope that has helped her continue living in freedom and living in joy despite really dark thoughts and despite depression.
Yeah, so like Audrey said, at times my depression has gotten so bad that I was tempted by thoughts to end my life. I just didn't feel like life was worth living. I didn't feel like life was gonna ever get better. I just felt like life was so unmanageable. And I just want you to know, if you are struggling with that, that you are not the only one who has had those thoughts, and that just because you're having those thoughts now means that you should act on them or that they will always be there. I think for me, I felt like since I was having suicidal thoughts that like no one had really ever told me that they had had suicidal thoughts and then didn't do it. Like the only people that I knew must have had suicidal thoughts were the people that did it.
Good.
And so I want you to know, like, you're not bad for having those thoughts. And if you know someone who is having suicidal thoughts, or I should say, like, if you know someone who is depressed, like, but they seem like they have their life all together, it's just suicidal thoughts are not beneath anyone. Like anybody can struggle with them at any point, and no matter how good your life is, we still have an enemy that's out to steal, kill, and destroy. And so he's going to take every opportunity he has. That being said, like, I think personally I had a huge revelation a couple years ago when I realized that the gospel that I had been taught, like in Sunday school, was that Jesus came to forgive your sins so that you can go to heaven when you die. And so I subconsciously, I think, was living in that place of thinking like, well, heaven is just going to be awesome. Like, so why shouldn't I just go right now?
Yeah.
Like, why shouldn't I just end the suffering and go to heaven? And I think it was a huge disservice that I was taught that that was the gospel, rather than Jesus came to show that God wants to be with you and near to you here on earth too. And he can be with you in your suffering, and he can bring peace to your suffering, if not maybe even joy one day. And so I think for me, reframing my thoughts to not think so much about Jesus coming to take me to heaven when I die, as Jesus came to bridge the gap so that I could be close to him while I am here on earth, and that he brought the kingdom to earth, rather than like I have to wait to go to heaven when I die. There's a song that sings that, and it has been such a big song to me. It's this guy, I can't remember what artist it is, but we could link it down below, but he says in it, I don't want to wait to go to heaven when I die, I want to go right now. And I think for me, having that thought that I could encounter God in a similar way on earth that I'm going to be encountering him when I go to heaven was life-changing for me.
Yeah.
So if you are in the thick of depression, I don't think that you should like strive to go to heaven right now. I think you can turn on some worship music, like a worship song that reminds you of a time when you felt close to God, because you probably don't. If you're feeling suicidal, you don't feel close to God. You feel so alone. But one of the things that's helped me is listening to a song that I really loved when I did feel close to God, and remembering, like, holding in my brain a time when I felt close to God, like whether it was like a church service or someone giving you prayer or something, just anything, that any time in your life that you have felt close to God, bringing that to mind, and you will start to feel those emotions that you felt when you felt close to God just by remembering it.
So when you are feeling suicidal, what do you want to be told? Like, if you come to someone and you confide in them saying, like, I'm feeling suicidal, I feel like most people have no idea what to do with that information.
Yeah.
Or how to help. And obviously it's like, yes, go seek professional help, because you're not supposed to hold that yourself. But, like, what can you do as a friend? What can you say as a friend? Besides just, like, you need to go to a therapist, dude. I can't hold that, you know? Like,
Yeah.
what can you say that's comforting, but also, like, not an answer? Because there is no perfect answer.
There isn't. And I feel like personally what I wanted to be told was, I am here with you in your suffering right now. Like, sadness is not bad. Like, you don't need to hide your sadness from me. We can be sad together.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said about empathy versus sympathy. There's a great Brene Brown video on that we can link. But just being with people in their sadness, I think, is a art that we've lost in America. Like, we want to fix it. It's something that's really hard to learn. If you've never struggled with depression, to learn how to relate to someone that has is challenging.
Totally.
So I think being with people in their pain is one of the biggest things. Letting them know that their life.
Okay.
Letting them know
that their life.
Okay, so let's pretend.
Okay.
Audrey, I know you're feeling suicidal, and I want you to know that your life is really valuable to me.
Yeah.
No matter if you stay glued to your bed the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Your life still matters to me. Because honestly, you guys, like, I felt like I had no value if I wasn't happy and there for other people and a fully functioning adult. Like, I literally had thoughts that I would rather kill myself than quit my job, because I felt that's such a huge weight to be productive and to be valuable to society.
Yeah.
And it's like, we need to break down that barrier that people feel that they have to be successful and be productive to be valuable, because your life is valuable no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think that perfectionism is a huge root for suicide. Like, I remember reading this girl's letter. It was like, it went around on Facebook, I think, when I was in college, but it said, it was her suicide letter, and it said, I'm sick of trying so hard. And it, like, listed all the different ways that she was trying. And it was like, man, like, just let yourself off the hook a little bit. Like, you don't have to be perfect, and striving to be perfect will make you constantly want to die, because it's a endless battle. It's pointless.
Yeah,
you
it's
will
impossible.
never be. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's impossible to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that being said, like, I remember feeling so much shame around my suicidal thoughts. I did not want to tell anyone. Like, I felt so much shame. Like, there was something deeply wrong with me if I was having these thoughts, and I didn't think that anybody that I knew had those thoughts. And so I didn't even really want to, like, admit to myself that I'd had those thoughts. I didn't want to admit to anyone, not a soul. And so for a long time, like, David, my husband, was the only person that I would tell. And I think I did a big disservice to myself and to other people, because suicide awareness is something that we have got to do a better job about talking about it, and not just talking about it when someone else takes their life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really heartbreaking how many people have taken their lives. I mean, Katie and I were talking about it just in preparing this video of a good family friend committed suicide while I was in college, and a family member, extended family member, committed suicide last year. And people all over the news, pastors, like that no one had any idea that they were even depressed, commit suicide. And it just needs to be talked about. And it needs to be, I think, not normalized in a sense that we want it to just be like something we like are like, oh, no big deal, you're suicidal. I mean, you should take it very seriously if someone says that they're suicidal, but also not make them feel like absolute about themselves, but being like, oh my gosh, like that is the worst thing ever, I can't believe you're saying this right now, like, you know, like that is common, like people are thinking these things, people are experiencing these dark thoughts, and I just think, like, you know, I can't help but think, what if I had done something differently with that friend? And also, like, you can't blame yourself if a family or friend has committed suicide. You can't. But also, like, what can you do to change your life so that you are more supportive of those who are experiencing it? And I do think, like, you know, our depressions have been so different, so vastly different. And we were talking about this earlier, like what I needed to get out of depression, and I wasn't suicidal and I wasn't struggling with perfectionism. I was just like sad and like laying in bed. What I needed was my mom to be like, get the F out of bed, go on a walk, watch the sunset, go out with your friends, do the thing you don't want to do. And I was like, okay, you're right. Like, I just need to do it. And that was what I needed. Whereas like Katie, if like someone told her to do that, she'd be like, shut the F up. I need you to just...
That makes me want to kill myself even more.
Because like it's like she has to do something.
Yeah.
And she just wants to be like, it's okay to be sad right now. And so I think to like realize that there are different levels of depression, and you can say that you're experiencing depression without feeling suicidal too.
Yeah.
So like those thoughts are valid. I know I felt depression for sure, but never felt like ending my life. I just felt extremely sad, extremely unmotivated, but also was like, this will probably pass. And I think the thing with depression is like, you think it's like, you're like, it's not gonna end, or if it's gonna get better, I don't want to wait for it to get better, because I can't go another day thinking and living like this. And I think that is, it's just like, I just pray that people that are thinking that take a second to pause and really know that it will get better.
Yeah. And I think, that being said, if you're feeling that way, like you're feeling suicidal, let yourself off the hook for some things. Like, you know, if you need to go live with your parents or quit your job or whatever you need to do, spend more money than you should to get your food delivered to your house, like, do it, because your life is worth it. Like, your life is worth that investment in your self-care. We live in a society where it's not okay to let yourself off the hook. It's not okay to cancel plans. If you cancel plans, you're a bad friend. If you, like, you know, aren't serving in your church, you're a bad Christian. If you don't go to church every Sunday, you're a bad Christian. And I remember there being Sundays where I'd pray and I was like, I just want to lay in bed and listen to worship music and cry my eyes out. Is that okay with you, God? And just feeling like he was like, yeah. Like, and I'm not promoting, like, not getting involved and not digging deep. Like, I do think that there's a certain point in your depression where you do need that nudge of like, okay, it's time. Like, get involved, put yourself back out there. But like, especially if you are experiencing suicidal thoughts, let yourself off the hook. And then I think you know when it's time to like start pushing yourself again, you know? Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. And I think also, that being said, talk to someone about your feelings. It can be really helpful to not feel like you're just bottling up stuff. So there are suicide hotline numbers that I would really recommend if you do not feel like you have anyone safe in your life to talk to about these things with. And we can put those numbers down below as well. I think it's really helpful to even, those people are trained in this area, and so you can talk to them about everything you're feeling. And also, I want you to know that there is a reason you're feeling what you're feeling. It's not because there's something wrong with you. And so going after the feelings and moving through them rather than just shutting them down is so important, and has been really important for me to figure out, why does this one thing trigger me so much that I just feel so much despair? And it's because I have unresolved childhood trauma around those things. And so like for me, even like, to be honest, for a really long time, this is probably the first year that I'm not feeling like despair about summer being over. And I don't know why, like what happened in the fall. I think it's just like the depression about going back to school and like the days being shorter and all of that, but I've always dreaded it. And I've kind of just moved into it, like admitted it, let myself feel it for the last couple of falls rather than being like, no, I can't hate fall. And I am actually starting to look forward to the cooler temperatures and the leaves changing and pumpkin spice lattes, even though I've never had one.
Me neither.
It's kind of weird. But getting a trained professional to help you put a finger on some of those things that are like churning inside of you that are making you feel so much despair. And one thing that a mentor of mine told me once, she had also struggled with depression, was that she realized a huge root of her suicidal thoughts was feeling like suicide would be her way out, like death was her escape from her pain versus Jesus being an escape from her pain.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that Jesus loves to do the most is to bear our burden of sadness and to bear our burden of anger, and he can help carry that yoke. Even though we still have to process it, it can be much lighter when we trust him with it and let it go to him.
Yeah. I know I'm definitely I love what you said about just Jesus didn't come and die on the cross so that we could go to heaven. He died so that we could be close to God now.
Yeah.
And so if we trust that and if we live by that and we seek that closeness with God on earth, I think it will change everything. And I know I'm totally guilty of that. I mean, I remember as a kid, I would wake up sweating saying, oh my gosh, I need to accept Jesus again because I'm going to go to hell. And like, just not understanding that it wasn't as much about hell and heaven. Like, it's not that much about heaven and hell. Like, yes, that's eternity and that's important, but we honestly don't know much about that. So let's focus on what we have now, which is our life on earth. And God put us here for a reason. And he wants us to seek him and draw near to him for all eternity starting now. And so what does it look like for us to try to bring heaven down and experience, just glimpses of that joy and that peace that he promises us.
Anyway, we want you guys to know that we are here for you. If you're struggling, we've been there, and you're not the only one. There's nothing wrong with you. And I just want to take like a hammer to any shame that anyone is feeling around having these thoughts, because it's just such a taboo subject in America, and I want to make it not taboo. And I want for people to feel free to get help and tell people what they need. You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't hesitate to reach out to us if you're struggling, or reach out to a loved family member. And if you know someone that's struggling with depression, touch base with them and just see, how are you doing? If someone's really depressed, they're probably not going to reach out to you, as much as that sucks. Good. Even just a text saying, how are you this week, once a week, can be a really big deal to people. Anyway, we love you guys. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel because it really supports us. And we are really looking forward to providing more content on mental health and then just things that make us happy too. We love you guys. Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today, Katie and I...
What?
You're already hating your life having to edit this.
to you. Okay.
Say that again. Yeah.
It's not that, David.
Baby.